There are truths in life that no one teaches you. No one explains them clearly. No one sits you down and tells you what really matters. Instead, you learn them the hard way, through time, through mistakes, through experience, and by the time you finally understand them, it's often too late. Too late to change certain decisions. Too late to take certain risks. Too late to use time the way you should have. That's how life works. Not everything is obvious in the beginning. Some things only become clear after you've lived through them, after you've made the wrong choices, after you've wasted time, after you've ignored what truly mattered. And that's the part most people don't expect. They think they'll figure things out early. They think they'll just know what to do. But clarity doesn't come that easily. It comes slowly, through patterns, through repetition, through realizing what doesn't work. And by the time those lessons become clear, you look back and wish you had understood them sooner, not because you couldn't, but because no one pointed them out. That's why these truths matter. Because once you see them early, you can change your direction. You can make better decisions. You can avoid wasting years. So in this video, we're going to talk about 8 truths, the kind people only understand after it's too late. But once you hear them now, you don't have to learn them the hard way. Most people believe they understand life. They think they know what matters, what they should focus on, what they should prioritize. But the truth is, most of that understanding is incomplete, because real understanding doesn't come from thinking. It comes from living, from experiencing, from making mistakes, from going through things you didn't expect. That's why so many people realize important truths too late. Not because they are not smart, but because these truths are not obvious. They don't feel urgent. They don't demand your attention, so you ignore them. You focus on what feels important right now: work, money, status, comfort, things that seem valuable in the moment, but over time, your perspective begins to change. What once felt important starts to feel empty. What you ignored starts to feel meaningful. And that shift doesn't happen overnight. It happens slowly, through experience, through reflection, through realizing what actually matters. And by the time you fully understand it, you look back and see things differently. You see what you should have done, what you should have valued, what you should have paid attention to. And that realization is often late. That's why awareness matters, because if you can understand these truths early, you can live differently. You can choose differently. You can avoid regrets. So in the next part, we're going to break down these truths. The quiet ones, the overlooked ones, the ones that change everything once you finally understand them. Number 1, time is more valuable than you think. When you're young, it feels like you have a lot of it. Enough to waste, enough to delay, enough to figure things out later. So you don't protect it. You spend it casually on things that don't matter, on distractions, on things you won't even remember. But time doesn't slow down. It doesn't wait. And one day, you start to feel it. The years passing faster, opportunities becoming fewer, and you realize time was never something you had plenty of. It was something you were losing every single day. Number 2, people don't think about you as much as you think. You hesitate, you overthink, you hold yourself back because you're worried what others will think, how they will judge you, how you will be seen. But the truth is, everyone is focused on their own life, their own problems, their own thoughts. And the more time you spend worrying about others, the less time you spend living your own life. So you stay stuck, not because of reality, but because of fear. Number 3, comfort can quietly ruin your life. It feels good. It feels safe. It feels like you're avoiding risk, but comfort has a hidden cost. It keeps you in the same place. It stops growth. It removes challenge, and without challenge, nothing changes. So while you stay comfortable, time passes, opportunities pass, and your life stays the same until one day you realize comfort was never protecting you. It was holding you back. Number 4, you don't have as much control as you think. Life is unpredictable. Things change. People change. Situations shift without warning. And no matter how much you plan, you can't control everything. But most people spend their time trying to control what they can't, worrying, overthinking, holding on to things that are already out of their hands. And in the process, they lose control of what they can change. Their actions, their mindset, their response. That's the real control. but most people realize that too late. Number 5, you become like the people around you, not instantly, not obviously, but gradually, through conversations, through habits, through shared thinking, you start to reflect your environment, the way you speak, the way you act, the way you see the world. And if your environment is limited, your life becomes limited too. But because the change is slow, you don't notice it until it's already shaped you. Number 6, your habits matter more than your intentions. You can have big goals, big plans, big dreams, but if your daily habits don't support them, nothing happens because your life is not built on what you want. It's built on what you do repeatedly every day. So intentions mean nothing without action, and action means nothing without consistency. That's why habits win every time, whether they are good or bad. Number 7, you will regret the things you didn't do more than the things you did. Mistakes hurt. Failure feels uncomfortable, but regret is heavier because failure teaches you something. It gives you clarity. It shows you what works and what doesn't. But not trying gives you nothing, just questions. What if? What could have happened? What would my life look like if I had tried? And those questions don't go away, they stay for years, sometimes forever. Number 8, no one is coming to save you. You might wait for help, for support, for someone to guide you, to push you, to change your life. But most of the time, that doesn't happen. People are focused on their own lives, their own problems, their own struggles. So if you keep waiting, nothing changes because your life is your responsibility, your direction, your choices, your actions. No one else can do it for you. These truths are simple, but they are not easy to accept because they require responsibility, they require awareness, they require change, and most people avoid that until it's too late, until time has already passed, until the consequences are clear. But if you understand them now, you don't have to learn them that way. You can choose differently, earlier, before it's too late, and here's the truth. These lessons are not complicated. They are simple, clear, easy to understand, but they are hard to live by because they require awareness, they require honesty, they require you to see things the way they really are, not the way you want them to be. That's why most people ignore them. They delay them, they tell themselves they will think about it later. But later is when the realization becomes painful, because by then, time has already passed, opportunities are gone, decisions have been made, and the cost becomes real. That's when people finally understand, not because they suddenly became smarter, but because they experienced it, and experience forces clarity. But you don't have to wait for that. You don't have to learn everything the hard way, because awareness changes everything. The moment you see these truths, you begin to think differently. You begin to act differently. You begin to choose differently, not perfectly, but consciously, and that's enough, because your life is not built on perfect decisions. It's built on consistent ones, small choices, repeated every day. So if you understand these truths now, use them, apply them, let them guide your decisions. Because the earlier you understand, the more time you keep, and time is the one thing you can never get back.